All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Albert Lay. I'm with the Office of Communications. Just give me 1 second as I share my screen here. We're going to do a quick orientation for for Zoom. We have a lot of different things we're juggling right here in a moment. All right, let's see here. Right in this window. Okay. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is the third in the next Facebook Live series. I am going to review some items related to the Zoom platform. It's going to check some microphones here, making sure we're all properly muted. All right, so today we're using Zoom Webinar. This is a mainly listen-only platform for the first portion of it. If you're hearing us now, you're probably spot on with your audio settings, but if you're having issues, you're going to see on your toolbar below a join audio button. If you are having audio issues, say you're in an area with bad internet, you can always call in. The number is on the screen, and the webinar ID is usually in the website address as well, that series of numbers you see. Also, you will have an opportunity to ask your questions. This is why we're here. So we recommend that you put your questions in on the Q&A portal. There's going to be a Q&A button at the bottom of your toolbar. Alternatively, you can also raise your hand to ask questions. I will see on my end a hand icon next to your name. I will then enable your microphone and you will have to unmute yourself. If you are on the phone, you can also do the same thing by *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute yourself. I don't recommend using the chat box for questions. That tends to get buried really fast. And it's hard for us to keep track of. So if you put it into the Q&A portal, it's much more better for us to track. Now, I'm going to stop my screen share here. I'm going to introduce some important people. I'm going to add a spotlight here. So I would like you to introduce Director John Varela. Director Varela represents District 1 on the Valley Water Board of Directors. That includes South County cities of Morgan Hill, Gilroy, parts of unincorporated areas of San Martin, parts of South San Jose. Please welcome Director John Varela.
Thank you, Albert, and welcome to the folks in San Martin. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this virtual meeting. Usually, I like to meet with you in person, but we've shifted to virtual meetings to help keep us all safe during this COVID-19 crisis. It's important that we continue to stay connected, which is why we are having tonight's virtual meeting. This is an opportunity for me to introduce our new CEO of Valley Water to this community and provide an update on current Valley Water issues. So let's welcome Valley Water CEO, Rick Callender. Rick.
All right. Thank you, Director Varela. Much appreciated. And thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. I truly appreciate you taking the time out to meet with me, to ask me questions, to be able to provide any inquiries which I may be able to respond to. This is just a part of a series of what we're doing in terms of reaching out and trying to make sure that we're talking to all our constituents, not only when we have projects out there, but when there's other things that constituents want to talk about. So definitely want to be able to make myself accessible. As pointed out tonight, we're going to be talking mainly to the residents of Morgan Hill, Gilroy, unincorporated areas of San Martin, and the parts of South San Jose, including the Evergreen area, which are Director Varela's district. So we kind of broke this up by district so we can make it topical for the things that are going on in your neighborhood. So tonight, I'm hoping that we can have a two-way conversation. You know, there's a lot to discuss with Valley Water. There's a lot that's going on, and a lot of the things that are going on are happening directly in Director Varela's district. He has the majority of all the hot activities that are going on. If you want, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We will be responding to you. You will have the opportunity, as Albert pointed out, to basically be able to ask questions live, to ask them through the Q&A. But what I do want to do is have a two-way conversation so folks can know what's going on. Just to briefly talk a little bit about myself and how I've gotten to the position of CEO. I'm a 24-and-a-half-year employee of Valley Water. I came up to the side of government relations. So basically providing for the support for lobbying activities, ensuring that we're working with other local public agencies in ways that would benefit the residents of Santa Clara County, South County, et cetera. Ensuring that I was pursuing dollars from both the state and the federal arenas to ensure that we can build the projects and be able to keep the burden off of taxpayers by pulling as many federal dollars as we can to build these projects. And so that's what I've been doing. Moved into basically working with both, but not only communications, but civic engagement, and then rolled into this position of CEO, which I'm happy to be able to continue to serve the community as CEO. Prior to that, I worked for economic and social opportunities, doing not only government relations for them, but doing housing support, ensuring that we're getting people that needed housing into housing. I worked for the mayor of San Jose, Susan Hammer, way back then, worked for Congressman Ron Dellums in Washington, D.C. by way of education. I started my education off at California State University, Chico. My degree was in industrial engineering and technology, emphasis in electronic and computer technology. Went on to San Jose State, studied for a master's, and ultimately obtained a law degree, and I am a member of the California State Bar. So as you see, I may be new to the position of CEO. However, I'm not new to Valley Water, and I'm definitely not new to Santa Clara County. My family moved out here in '76, and so I've gone to all local schools. So those of you might know, I'm one of the Eastside Union graduates from Santa Teresa High School, and went to elementary school out here. So I'm a resident out here. I continue to live in San Jose. So this is my community too. The things that happen at Valley Water affect me. The things that don't happen at Valley Water affect me as a constituent. So it's important to me that we move these things, that we move a lot of the projects and the promises forward. One of the things people ask me, well, what area of San Jose? I live right off of Coyote Creek. I can literally look out my back fence, and I am a stone's throw. When I'm saying stone's throw from Coyote Creek, I am a stone's throw from Coyote Creek. I can literally see the creek. So the things that happen definitely affect me as well. Hey, so tonight I'm going to be talking about a few projects. We're going to be talking about the Upper Yagas project. These are going to be real brief. The Coyote Warehouse project, the Parallel East Central Pipeline project, Pacheco Reservoir, Anderson Dam, which I know many of you have heard a lot about, the Coyote Creek Flood Protection Project, and then ultimately Measure S. I'm going to try to cover all of these in about less than 15 minutes. So let me go ahead and jump on the Upper Yagas project, located in Morgan Hill. That's a project that we're doing in partnership with NRCS, that's the National Resource Conservation Service, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the state where we get funding from them. So these are the reason why we're doing it in cooperation with them, is so that we can receive funding from them. Now the project will ultimately construct improvements about 13.9 miles of Upper Yagas Creek. The project extends from Buena Vista to Yagas Road and includes Little Yagas Creek in downtown Morgan Hill. And phase one of the Upper Yagas Creek project is progressing and got started in May, pretty much construction starting in May of 2020. Just I think it was a few days ago, I talked to Director Varela. He said, Rick, you've got to come down there and see. This is absolutely amazing what's going on in the project. He said a lot of constituents are talking to him about what's in that project. So maybe a little bit later, can you just kind of talk about what he's seen from his own eyes in regards to that project? Other little known projects that are in this area is the Coyote Warehouse project. Now this is a project that's constructed a 21,600 square foot storage warehouse to essential pump line and pipeline parts and materials for the Coyote pump plant. You know, the project is mostly complete and has some minor features like landscaping remaining. Many of you had joined us for a groundbreaking on that project as it is in South County. Projects that people never hear about are projects like our Parallel East or a Central Pipeline project. And this basically involves the inspection and replacement of distressed water pipeline sections within the Parallel East and the Central Pipelines. Now, work will occur in several phases. And the first phase completed in the spring of 2019. And the next phase is expected to begin in the fall and be completed by the winter 2021. This is work again in District 1 that'll be from South White Road, from Aborn Road to Ocala and Martin Avenue. So that's in the San Jose area. Now, these projects are extremely important for ensuring that we can continue to provide safe, clean water, ensuring that we're getting that water to your home. Speaking of safe, clean water, One of the things that we're trying to do is look at a new Pacheco Reservoir expansion project. So this is over there by the Pacheco Pass area. The project will basically is looking at existing Pacheco Reservoir to expanding it to 140,000 acre feet. Up until this point, and I compare it to the Anderson project, our Anderson project, when full, right now it can't be full, I'll talk a little bit about that, but when full, Anderson Dam can carry 90,000 acre feet of water. This project can carry 140,000 acre feet of water. That will expand our capacity for water supply in the county. We're still evaluating, we're still trying to see if we can move this thing forward. We have received $481 million from the state of California through a Prop 1 grant. And when I talked about what I do and what I did for government relations, that's kind of what we do, making sure that we are chasing down every dollar that we can from other entities to pay for projects that are going to benefit us in Santa Clara County. Let's go ahead and move on to Anderson. So I'm sure many of you are aware of the Anderson Dam seismic retrofit project. Was just in the Mercury News yesterday. I did hear it also on the radio this morning and talking about what's going on. And we recently held a virtual public meeting to inform the community about the upcoming activities related to Anderson Dam. Right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to work in compliance under a FERC order. FERC stands for the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's order, to basically to draw the reservoir down to what's called dead pool, which is pretty much all but empty. So the compliance project, and that's the dewatering effort. So that dewatering effort actually begins tomorrow. So that's why you probably saw this in the news, if you did see this in the news. And then tunnel construction, basically this is the new outlet at the bottom of the dam. That's expected to begin in 2021. Now we're expecting full completion, full replacement of the dam and its core is projected by 2031. And so there's a lot of work that's going to be done in order to get this done. We'll continue to have meetings with this community as well as the Coyote Creek community on the Anderson Dam project, and keep you informed about what's happening and to keep you being able to talk to us about how these things are moving forward. We've gotten a lot of questions and saying, well, Rick, you just talked about 90,000 acre feet of water. That's a lot of water. What's going to happen? Are we going to have a self-imposed drought? Well, the one thing I do want to guarantee you is that we do have an adequate supply of water for this year, and we'll continue to explore our options to maintain our supply into the future. One of the things is that we've been blessed with is that we were smart enough to chase a diverse water supply portfolio, and that includes groundwater, imported water from both the federal and state sources, as well as recycled water. One thing that people don't know about is that we also have banked water. It's called the semi-tropic water bank in Kern County. There's enough water there that basically it's 350,000 acre feet of water. Well, that serves about 3.5 million people for 1 year. One of the things that we'll be looking at, I'll be doing this also with Director Varela, because he's on some of our critical committees that looks at supply and what are we doing about storage and supply. We're going to be having this conversation in the coming months. What other kind of storage projects are we looking at? What kind of projects are we going to move forward with to make sure that we continue to have an adequate supply of water for Santa Clara County and for the South County effort. And so one of the things I can say is, yes, we have taken this into account, and we will continue to look at these things. Let's move over to Coyote Creek. At the same time we're doing Anderson project, we're also moving ahead on the Coyote Creek flood protection project. I'm going to see if we can, there we go, it's catching up to me. So this project is going to basically be able to protect the Coyote Creek community from future flooding, similar to the levels of flooding that happened in 2017. I mentioned that I live off of Coyote Creek a little bit earlier. Well, I said like I can see the creek from my home. Well, the flooding that happened in Rock Springs, that's not too far from me. That's about 1.5 miles from my house. These are my neighbors. These are my friends. I knew people in that area that got flooded and unfortunately taken out of their homes. So when I say I'm part of the community, I definitely understand what's going on. So the one thing that we are doing is the first phase of the flood protection project is a FERC compliance mitigation measures. And that's basically, so as we're building the outlet for the Anderson Dam project, we want to ensure that the people that are downstream in Coyote don't get flooded. So that's what we're doing with the FERC compliance flood mitigation measures that we're putting in place. And then the remaining phase of the Coyote Creek flood protection project is expected to be completed by the end of 2025. So staff has been working on project design and alternatives for the project, and we will continue to reach out to the community, and we will be reaching out to the community and the Coyote Creek Committee in the next few months to update everyone on the project's progress. Like as I said again, I don't live too far from the area, and I've heard a lot of comments, both personally. They've showed up to our board meetings, showed up at some of my Ask the CO meetings, and talked about how devastating the floods were on their families. You know, the one thing I was able to see, I saw this unfortunately flooding in 1994. I saw it again in 2017. One of the things I can tell you from me is I know how this feels. I'm sorry for what the community has gone through, and it's unfortunate some of you had not only deal with the flooding that occurred, but also a long legal process. You know, I truly hope that the legal process, no matter how it ends quickly and fairly. And I want to ensure you, at least under my leadership and under the board, that Valley Water is here to serve everybody in our community in Santa Clara County. We are residents of this county too. We care. We're going to try to figure out a way to make sure, you know, that, like I said, this ends quickly and fairly. So now I want to talk finally about Measure S, and then we'll go into a little bit about homeless, and then we're going to open it up to hopefully questions from you. The best thing I can do, I think, to describe Measure S is I'm going to ask Albert to play a quick video. It's about 1:30. So can talk a little bit about what's on Measure S, and Measure S is on your ballot. So Albert, could you go ahead and hit play for me?
Sure thing. Just gonna get this running here.
What is the Safe Clean Water and Natural Flood Protection Program? The Safe Clean Water and Natural Flood Protection Program was overwhelmingly approved by 74% of Santa Clara County voters in 2012. The program identified 5 priorities developed in collaboration with thousands of residents and stakeholders. Priority A, a safe, reliable water supply. Building sustainable, locally controlled water supply projects that are resilient to emergencies, disasters, and droughts. Priority B, reduce toxins and contaminants in our waterways. Providing a safe and clean supply of water, ensuring our waterways are protected from toxins, contaminants, and pollution. Priority C, protect our water supply from earthquakes and natural disasters. Protecting our water supply, water quality, dams and flood protection channels from public emergencies, earthquakes, natural disasters, and climate change. Priority D, restore habitat and provide open space. Protecting our natural areas by working to restore habitats along creeks and the bay. Priority E, provide flood protection. Funding projects that protect our homes, schools, and businesses from the threat of floods. The program helps us care for waterways and provide flood protection to homes, schools, and businesses. As we contend with public emergencies, natural disasters, population growth, and uncertain future water supplies, we are exploring how to replace and renew the existing program to address these challenges.
So that's Measure S. Measure S is on your ballot. A lot of people have received their ballot books. I haven't received mine yet. I anticipate I'll probably be getting it in a short time frame. But when we were building Measure S, we worked with 21,000 community members, 17,000 who provided us direct comments on what they would want to see in a future safe clean water measure. So we think that we've put together a measure that meets the needs of Santa Clara County to ensure a healthy supply of reliable water into the future, address flood protection, ensure that we have the ability to do long-term maintenance and operations maintenance on our projects, as well as one of the new things that we heard and was unequivocal. I tell folks often the comments that we didn't know what comments we're going to get, and it was open comments. The #1 comment was Anderson Dam. We want you to fix Anderson Dam. The #2 comment is make sure you provide us high water quality. And then the third comment closely to that was homeless. Please make sure that you're taking care of homelessness. So that basically we created we added on a portion to our Safe Clean Water, which was providing for support for public health and public safety for our community. And so, and when I talk about public health and public safety, homelessness obviously has been increasing, and it's obviously it's a much larger problem. It's grown year to year. We ran out of the dollars that provide support for homeless, and the last Safe Clean Water measure, basically within the first 5 years of the measure, we thought we had 3 times as much dollars as we needed in there from the very first time we went, like 20 years ago, to basically be able to address homeless. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do something about the increase in homeless activity in the area. We've heard it from every single community. Everyone says they believe it's just in their community. No, it's in all of our communities. The one thing that we're doing different in this measure is that it's going to provide us for the ability to address homelessness in a way, in a manner which is a more humanitarian manner. What we've been doing is basically working with other coalitions, other cities, etc., and going out, and we've just been removing people's homes, and that's what it is. When we're removing the encampments, we're just removing their homes. This measure now includes basically $500,000 a year to help us to basically remove people and to try to get them out of our creekways in a more humanitarian method. So it includes some social services. We will not be doing that, but we'll be partnering with other entities that do social services to do that. It also includes dollars for creeks like Yagas, where we'll be able to do phase 2 of Yagas and be able to move Yagas forward, as well as it includes a ton of dollars for environmental work in the community. I believe this is a much better measure than we had 12 years ago, which passed by basically 74% of the vote. And I hope we look at your favorable consideration for the vote. So at this time, I wanted to go ahead and open to questions, but I believe we do have some elected officials that are in the audience that I've seen. I've seen a couple come up in the chats, and so I wanted to look at Director Varela if he wanted to announce some of his elected colleagues, and then if they wanted to raise their hand and say a few words before we get started in the Q&A, I'd like to invite them to do so.
I would love to be able to announce them. I don't see them on my screen, so why don't you do the honors? Because I don't see the chat here on my screen.
So you may have John McKay and Larry Carr.
Okay, great. 2 of my favorite city council members in Morgan Hill. Thank you, Councilmember McKay and Councilmember Carr, for joining this meeting. I hope you learned something I can go out and teach, like I'm doing. So welcome. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you my thoughts as well. So was there something else you wanted me to
well, no, I was going to give the council members a chance if they wanted to address it. These are their communities too. Councilmember Carr, I see, has his hand up. I think you're in a position. I'll get you to unmute yourself, and you should be able to speak. And Albert, if they want to, they can turn on their cameras, correct?
Not on the attendee side, but we can hear them.
Okay.
Okay.
But go ahead, so you can speak. So Councilmember Carr.
I think I'm unmuted now, so perhaps you can hear me now. This is Larry Carr, council member in Morgan Hill. Rick, I just wanted to say welcome and congratulations. You and I, we've known each other for many, many years, and so I'm super excited that you are in the position you are. It's great to have another great friend of South County as the new CEO, to have you joining our wonderful district director, John Varela, and in leading South County efforts. Our partnership with Valley Water goes back. It's so important for South County, our partnership with Valley Water. I'm not sure everyone knows. I'm sure, I know that you and John both know, all of our water in the city of Morgan Hill comes from groundwater and is managed by Valley Water. So that partnership is so important. John is a super active member of the community, and as a director for Valley Water, is engaged in the projects that you're talking about, but as well in our water reclamation efforts through the South County Regional Wastewater Committee that I serve on, and John is an active participant in that. And the partnership is a very important one. Anderson is a very visible project for us, a very important one, not only for water resources, but for recreation and economic development for our area. And we could not be more excited about the work that's going on the flood control project, the Upper Yagas Creek Flood Control Project, a project that's been on the books for more than 50 years. And you guys are the ones that finally got it off the ground. The beginning work at Lake Silvera is very exciting to reclaim some of the environmental resources that are out there, provide some recreation and trail opportunities for our community while providing the kind of flood control that our community needs. So we're very excited. Thank you for joining us and coming to South County for this. And when we get to a place where we can all meet in person again, Rick, I look forward to joining you in a tour of South County and the projects that are going on. Thanks very much, John. Thanks for hosting this tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember McKay.
Yes, hello, Rick.
Oh, hello.
We have not met yet, but I look forward to an opportunity to meet. And I am the council member that represents our district here, which is District D, which is the home of Anderson Dam, and quite a few of the perk ponds, and quite a bit of activity that's going to be going on here in the near future with the dam rebuilding. So looking forward to meeting you. I'm glad I was able to follow fellow council member Carr, because he said most of what I think was important, all those discussions about all the areas that we rely on Valley Water and the areas where we collaborate and work together. They're so important. I do want to say that it's really important. I'm glad to see that you're here, and our representative John Varela, of course, because we're probably going to want to have a dialogue with you. I think that communication is going to be extremely important in over the next few years, as we start to actually see this dam reconstruction start to get underway. I think that the community is really going to need to be engaged. So I really look forward to that. I've already seen that you like to present, and you're going to be really good at communicating with us, making sure that we understand what's happening each step of the way. There are going to be a lot of concerns about things, and I think that you guys are the best ones to be guiding us, telling us about what's happening, getting the community comfortable with the changes that we're about to see, and then really look forward to what'll be something that'll really make the community feel really comfortable, because there have been concerns about dam failures, and all that's going to be in the past in a few years. So thank you very much. Welcome. I look forward to meeting you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Council McKay. Yes, the one thing I do want to promise this community, as well as all communities, is you're going to see better communication from us. We're going to continue to grow on some of the good communication you've seen, but you're also going to see better communication. This is just the start of us making sure that we're working in the partnership that our board members and our elected officials expected. I think it's this kind of partnership that Director Varela has wanted, and we're going to continue to grow on this. So, Albert, let's go ahead and roll on some questions that we may have from the public.
Sure thing. Just as a reminder, you can ask your question to the Q&A portal, and you can also ask your question verbally by raising your hand. We'll be jumping back and forth from that. And for those listening on Facebook, we are also taking your questions there as well. So just go ahead and pop it in the chat, and I will relay it to our speakers. All right, pulling the Q&A portal here. We have a question from Swanee Edwards. Let's see, would it not be easier to build a new discharge tunnel after the dam face is removed? If not, can you explain why? This sounds like a very technical question, but Rick, go ahead and we'll see what we can respond with.
All right. So hold on, I'm trying to see the question again.
It's toward the bottom here.
All right, so I was trying to find it as you were reading it. Could you read it one more time for me, Albert? Because I did not catch it, and I was trying to.
Sure. It's from Swanee Edwards. She asked, would it not be easier to build the discharge tunnel after the dam face is removed? If not, can you explain why?
All right, so Swanee, so if the reason why we're building the outlet structure first is because we have to basically be able to release the water from the dam, and the FERC wanted us to make sure that we build the outlet structure first. So the way I'll describe it, this is the way I've described it when I'm speaking to the legislature, is that right now our dam is like a bathtub, and at the bottom of the bathtub is a stir stick straw. So if you can think of like a stir stick straw that you use and how long it would take to drain a bathtub with a stir stick straw, that's what we have, the equivalent of that. The reason why FERC has asked us to basically remove all the water from the dam is they don't want to put anyone at risk, and they want to ensure that there is zero risk for the public if the dam is actually empty. So by building the outlet structure first, that enables us to, one, release the water from the existing dam, in case the dam was to fill up, and we can release it faster. If you were to build the dam, reinforce the dam first, you would have the same exact situation where you'd have a rebuilt dam, but still the stir-strict straw at the bottom of a rebuilt dam. So that does not get us to where we want. So they want to remove all of the risk first. And so that's why we start there. So hopefully that answers the question. So, and I still didn't see where the question came in, Albert, but I'll continue to look for, I'll continue to look for them.
Sure, not a problem. We have another Q&A question here. Again, as a reminder, feel free to raise your hand and ask your question verbally. I forgot to turn on the naming for the Q&A, so we had a couple unnamed questions. So question here is, we have a project with PG&E at 2525 Aborn Road. We have been waiting 5 weeks for Valley Water to give PG&E a permit to put in their conduit. Why doesn't PG&E have an expedited process with Valley Water? Our project has been on hold for 5 weeks because of this.
Well, I'm not familiar with the exact project at 2525 Aborn Road, but what I'm going to ask this person to do, I'm sorry, I don't have your name, it just came as anonymous attendee. If you can email me at ceo@valleywater.org, I promise you I'm going to make sure that I get one of our chief operating officers on this immediately so that we can basically be able to respond to it. It appears that you are waiting for a permit from us to move this along, and I'm going to make sure that we're responsive. And I apologize if something fell down on our side and we weren't responsive, but that's partially what I'd like to do, is make sure that we're providing good customer service to the residents of Santa Clara County. So please email me. I promise we will get back to you. I see that Albert did put the email in the chat.
All right, great, thank you. We also have another question here, or a little comment and a question. They say, thank you for your leadership, Director Varela and CEO Callender, and for providing this dialogue. They're asking a question related to AB 3005. How does the veto of AB 3005 affect the future of Anderson Dam as a project?
So the veto, so the folks that may and may not know, the AB 3005 was a bill introduced by Assemblymember Rivas. The bill had three major components. One was to basically provide us what's called best value construction. So basically, rather than do low bid, and low bid would be you get the lowest bid, and then you for the rebuilding of the dam, basically you're able to choose whichever you get the best value of. Obviously, you don't want to build a dam by low bid. The second portion was to expedite permits through the regulatory agencies. The third major portion was basically expedited judicial review. So if someone was to sue us on the project, it basically we jump to the front of the line for judicial review so that we can get resolution through the courts quickly. The governor did veto the bill yesterday evening. Was very disappointed. Unfortunately, when he vetoed it, I'm going to read the statement that Assemblymember Rivas put out there, and then I'm going to tell everybody in terms of what I see as the outlook. Assemblymember Rivas basically issued a statement saying that he's deeply disappointed to see AB 3005 returned with a veto from Governor Newsom. He said, my constituents in the greater Silicon Valley region are at risk of a catastrophic flood from a large earthquake due to the current condition of Anderson Dam. AB 3005 would have expedited the dam's seismic retrofit project as well, and was vital to ensuring the water supply and environmental benefits for the region expeditiously. The safety of my constituents is my highest priority. I want to thank the bill's sponsor, Valley Water, many of my colleagues in the State Assembly and Senate, and also our congressional delegation, all of whom worked hard over the past several months to craft and pass this important bill. We'll be discussing next steps in the weeks and months ahead to continue our work to protect our region from a catastrophic dam failure. Well, the one thing I do want to tell the folks here is, we have a blessing in one piece, that we believe we have a way to move forward, at least with the construction of the outlet portion. We believe there's case law that will be able to help us move that forward. We're going to go back to our board of directors and recommend in October that we reintroduce pieces and components of the bill. I'm not sure why we did not expect. I was surprised that we got a veto from the governor on this bill. He vetoed it. In his veto message, he believed that it was going to cut the timeframes too short for the regulatory agencies to basically be able to work on our bill. Well, the one thing we had done is we had negotiated with the regulatory agencies on the timeframes, and we did have agreement. So there is a little bit of a disconnect. So how does it affect the project? We're going to continue to move forward. The one thing that you have from me is a promise from at least my administration. We're going to push forward. We're going to plow forward. We're going to ensure that that this project remains, as the board has said, their top priority project. We're not going to have this thing slow down. I will do everything in my power to make sure that this moves forward. And I believe we do have a path, but we are going to go back to the state legislature for help. And we'll probably look to the community too for whatever we go back with, to have your voice be heard. And I know many, many people, and I want to thank Swanee Edwards. Swanee Edwards has done a lot for your community out there. She led basically a campaign that got over 550 signatures to go to the governor to talk about, how important this project was. So thank you for Swanee, but we'll probably look to folks again for whatever we do to talk about the importance of this project. We will be meeting with Mr. Rivas. We will be asking the governor actually to see if the governor can issue also an executive order to basically direct his agencies to move faster on this project. This project is too important. There's too many lives at risk. There's too many homes at risk. We're going to do whatever we can to move this project forward.
All right, great, thank you. Again, feel free to raise your hand to ask your questions verbally. I'm now moving on to a question from JD. This is a Measure S question. If Measure S does not pass, what are the potential impacts, short and long term? Second question, actually, let's answer that question first, and I'll ask the follow-up questions.
Let's go ahead through all of them, because I'll probably touch on all of them.
Sure. The next portion is, what other funding streams are available? How do you think the pandemic will impact results with Measure S?
All right, so I'm going to actually start from the last one first. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're building Measure S. We started in December of last year, and we went to the board and we said that the current Measure B is what it was. The current Safe Clean Water program has some flaws. You heard me talk about in the first 5 years of the Safe Clean Water program, we used up all the dollars for homeless. What we had added into the last Measure B, the Safe Clean Water measure, was the fact that we were trying to do the studies on Coyote Creek, and we were going to be looking up the Upper Penitencia project. Well, when Coyote Creek flooded, what we did, the board said is, well, we've got to address Coyote Creek immediately. So they grabbed the dollars from Upper Penitencia and then moved it over to Coyote Creek, but now Upper Penitencia doesn't have it. So we have a program that is not working and that we needed to basically be able to address it. So how do I think the pandemic will affect it? Well, during the polling of the Measure S, of the potential issue, one of the things that our polling told us, we polled it 2 times during the pandemic, and both times it came back with 74% support. That's exactly what Measure B passed by 12 years ago. So I do believe that even though that we're in a pandemic, people understand the need for safe, clean water, the need to protect our communities, and the need to ensure that we have adequate flood protection and operations and maintenance. What other funding streams are available for this? Well, unfortunately, if this doesn't pass, this is one of the challenges that we have, is that this is our funding stream for these kind of projects. We may have to go back out to the community again, but I am concerned that if it doesn't pass, because we'll be continuing to measure, the current measure will expire 8 years from now, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to fix it. The way, if you have a broken car, you don't continue to drive it for 8 more years. What you do is you fix the car so that it can continue to last and go further. But right now, there are no other funding streams that will provide for the things that we're talking about. If we were to see the expiration and not being able to renew this measure, we would be looking at cuts at Valley Water. It's just the frank side of what we're looking at. And I don't want to be the CEO that has to go back and talk to the board about what are we going to do because we don't have the funding. So what are the potential impacts short-term and long-term? The potential impacts long-term, we won't be able to complete some projects. I'm just being very frank with you. Potential impacts for some of the environmental projects, those dollars would go away. The board of directors is going to be in a very tough situation of saying the little bit of funding that we do have coming, because this accounts for nearly 1/3 of the agency's funding. So in terms of projects, so this is, imagine that you get rid of all of that. Not only are you going to be losing projects, but you're going to be losing people as well. It's a reality of what happens if you lose a major source of funding that pays for operations and maintenance, capital projects, environmental projects, etc. So, but what I'm looking at is where I started. The polling starts at 74%. We believe that people understand the value of clean, safe water, the value of protection for the community, and the value for long-term operation and maintenance. So again, what I plead to you is to make sure that you inform your neighbors and others about the benefits of the safe, clean water measure. And I believe that people will do the right thing, hopefully, when they go to the polls and be able to say that this is something that makes sense for our community.
All right, let's see here. You have a couple comments here in the Q&A portal. I think we have a few comments from Swanee. Swanee asked, can she get a shirt? One. I think she likes the shirt that you're wearing, Rick.
Oh, thank you.
And then she also mentioned that she had to ask some of these questions as a water ambassador. She wants to make sure she gave the right information and wants to relay that into the Q&A portal.
Yeah. So Swanee Edwards, and just to jump out there, and Director Varela, I don't know if you want to talk about Swanee. The Swanee Edwards was one of we had the initial cohort of what we call our Water Ambassadors program. Basically, it's our water leadership program. So we build about 21 different leaders throughout the community on the water issue. Swanee signed up, and she was Director Varela's one of his very first appointments to that. So Director Varela, I want to see if anything you want to say about the Water Ambassador program with Swanee. She's been very active and very supportive of this organization.
Yes, I do, and thank you, Rick. So Swanee is kind of like the rock star of South County, specifically in Morgan Hill, and actually throughout the Bay Area. She works with so many elected officials, and I think one of her favorite is John Laird. We all know John. And, you know, I am fortunate enough to be part of a very unique group of people that work directly with Swanee on so many issues. But when it comes to water, I think one of the best ambassadors that we have, all our ambassadors are wonderful. They're all great. But she is very embedded in the Valley Water because of her relationship she had previously with the director that I replaced, which was Dennis Kennedy. They had a very strong bond that started then and continues to today. So Swanee, we salute you, we thank you, and we'll make sure you get that shirt.
All right.
For your continued effort.
You heard it from the director, so that's going to happen.
All right.
Put it on
Moving
my
on
bill.
to we'll look into it. I think staff will definitely make note of that. All right, moving on to the next question here. Well, of course, after JD asked the question, they just wanted to congratulate you, Rick, on your position. We have a question from KN. Why is the renewal provision being removed from Measure S? I heard that the only way to overturn the tax after Measure S will be through a citizen initiative ballot measure.
To address that, that's absolutely incorrect. So what has happened is we've gone back to the voters of the last 20 years for a program that we know is a program that requires ongoing operations and maintenance. What we've asked, we've modeled our measure after the best practice that occurred of Measure W in LA, which is almost the exact similar measure that passed in 2018, where they have ongoing operation and maintenance needs. What I'll point to you is that we had a situation well, it's a current situation that's in the Alviso area. Those that lived out here in the 80s, which I did, saw the flooding that occurred in Alviso in 1982. We being Valley Water, built the project to basically protect that community. However, we didn't have the dollars for operations and maintenance, and so that community is back at risk. Actually, tomorrow, I believe, is the meeting. It's tomorrow. Yes, it's tomorrow. We have a meeting with that very community to talk about, we have to spend almost the equivalent amount of money to remove them because we weren't able to do the operations and maintenance. Many communities want to be removed, but we've got to basically be able to not only maintain them. Maintaining safe, clean water doesn't mean that we come back to the residents every 12 years and say, do you want us to maintain safe, clean water? So in terms of overturning, yes, you can do it through a citizens initiative. Every 15 years, what happens is that there's a review mechanism where the board, the independent monitoring committee, and others have to make a recognition. Do they want to retain? Do they want to repeal? Or do they want to continue to move it? So no, this isn't the only methodology, but I can tell you, I live in this community too. My child lives in this community. My child's grandparents live in the community, which is my parents, and my mother and father. I can tell you, all of us want to ensure that we have safe, clean water for the future, not only of this county, but the future of the next generation. And I don't want to put people at risk that are in the floodplain, people that look like me that are in the floodplain that are begging for flood protection. I want to do the right thing. And I think everyone wants to know that we're doing the right thing, to know that we are maintaining safe, clean water, not only for the economy, not only for environmental justice measures, but to ensure that we have a long-term source of funding to provide for the protections that the residents of this valley expect from us.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Ree here. What is the debt on this bond and who pays for it? Taxpayers?
So the debt on the bond, so you have the ability to basically enter into debt. There is no debt that's going to be incurred on the bond. However, the board, we have estimated that you may be able to ultimately be able to look at debt on the bond. But one of the things that we do is we have other different debt mechanisms if we want to basically move projects along. The reason why you enter into debt on a bond or a special tax is so that you can move the projects along quicker. The very first measure that we went out to, Clean Safe Creeks as well as Safe Clean Water, was a pay-as-you-go, So basically, you collect, and then you go build the project, which basically only delays the projects when the residents are screaming at you. When you're going to incur debt on the bond, you basically you bond on the projects right up front, and then you're able to build the projects quicker, and then you pay it back. They said, who pays it back? That's basically right. The residents that are being taxed ultimately pay back any debt on the bond. But one of the benefits is, you know, that you get the project faster, which is only going to help the economy, which is only going to help your property prices, which is only going to remove people from the floodplain. And I can tell you, the corporate, that's why you have business, religious leaders, environmental leaders, labor, political parties, on the environmental agencies, everyone on all different sides of the aisle supporting this, because they know that not only does this protect the economy, not only does it protect the community, but it's a good investment for the residents of Santa Clara County.
All right, looking here on Facebook and our Q&A portal, I think we're good right now for questions.
And one of the things I want to point out, someone to point out to me, and this is not a new tax. This is a renewal of an existing tax at the exact same rate that you're paying. So when you see it on the ballot, we'll have that language that's in there on the ballot, that it's a renewal at the exact same rate. So like I said, I hope that you do have the opportunity to look at it favorably. And if you have any questions, feel free to join one of these events. I will have this is the third of 7. I'm having them throughout the county and talking to different communities about the projects that are in their community, in terms of why this, not only what projects are there, but, you know, to answer questions on Measure S and why I believe that the community should look at it favorably. So I'm gonna, Albert, do we have any other questions? Because I have a question for Director Varela that I'd love for him to answer for some of his residents. Not that I want to put him on the spot. I don't ask the CEO, but often I get the directors asking me the questions. So this is the Ask the CEO. I'm gonna try to turn it around and ask Director Varela.
We do have one hand raised. Do you want to ask the director a question first and then go to the raise hand question, or?
Well, let's go ahead and get the hand raised. So I want to make sure we're addressing the residents, and then we're going to go to Director Varela.
Sure. We do have a hand raised from Sharon Luna. I will enable your microphone. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, welcome, and thank you very much for your introduction and commitment to communicate with the residents. My name is Sharon Luna, and I am a San Martin resident, and most of the San Martin residents are on well water and have been affected by spills of perchlorate and raw sewage. And Director Varela and Larry Carr have been very instrumental in assisting in getting our water clear. I do have my water tested, but I'm still concerned about drinking the groundwater. So I pay for bottled water. And listening to the call, your emphasis is on providing clear, clean water for all residents. And I like hearing that, and was wondering what you see for those communities that are still on wells that face, you know, if there is a lack of groundwater, that's what we rely on. And with the Anderson Dam, with the building in Morgan Hill and in Gilroy, what steps do you see as far as possibly going, removing from well water to piping in water? Could you address that a little bit?
All right, Sharon, there's a lot packed in the first. Thank you for the question. No, that's an excellent question, and thank you for talking about. So many of you that don't know, I was actually here when they found perchlorate contamination in the San Martin Valley water. I was actually much younger and staff was much earlier. The way that we were able to detect that was through the regular monitoring of the groundwater supply, which we continue to do in the South County area. The one thing, one thing I'm going to point out, and it kind of rolls directly into the Safe Clean Water program, is that we offer rebates up to $500 for treatment systems for wells that have high nitrate. This funding is part of our existing Safe Clean Water program, and it will also continue on in our Safe Clean Water program if approved by the voters. While we do make sure that we monitor regional groundwater and every well and property is unique, one of the things that we recommend is that private well owners regularly test their well water. And with this, we also offer free basic testing to eligible well owners. One of the things, unfortunately, because of COVID, currently this is suspended. We are going to figure out how do we try to get these things back. But what we do right now, our regional monitoring indicates that the water is safe, but it's generally of generally very high quality. However, there is nitrate from fertilizers and septic systems. This is an ongoing concern in portions of South County, and that's why we do recommend that you continue to test. The very final piece of your, I think, of your question was, do we expect us to pipe water in? But right now, there's no current plans for that on the table. However, we are going to be discussing with Morgan Hill as well as Gilroy basically recycled water and how to basically be able to deal with recycled water. And I think where recycled water, advanced purified water is going right now. I think right now the purple pipes that people believe go with recycled water probably going to disappear in the future. That's not going to be immediate, but that's going to be something that will also provide a drinkable supply of water. If you have ever been on a recycled water tour, advanced water treatment system tour in the Alviso area, one of the things is we allow everybody to basically be able to get a taste of it and see how clean and pure the water tastes. And it's clean to basically standards that are above that of drinking water. So yes, we will continue to monitor the groundwater. We'll continue to ensure that the groundwater is of high quality. We'll continue to work with the residents, and hopefully the residents will also support us in Measure S. And hopefully not support us, but support ourselves. We're all part of this together, but also support being able to receive that $500 for treatment systems for wells that have high nitrate levels in the South County area. So Miss Luna, I hope I answered your question. I kind of, there was a lot packed in there, but hopefully I got to it.
All right, thank you, Rick. We have a time check about 6:22. I do have a Facebook comment question, a Q&A question, and a raised hand. I'm going to start with the Facebook question from Giran Awoke. Welcome to CEO Callender, and thank you, Director Varela. Question, where do you see your agency 5 years from now?
Oh, where do I see our agency 5 years from now? That's a wonderful question. One of the things I have is that I'm in the seat, and hopefully I'll be in the seat for 5 years, but I'm going to tell you, I think 5 years from now, I'd like to say that, yes, we have completed Coyote Creek. Yes, that we would have Measure S in place. Yes, Anderson Dam would be more than halfway done. We would have completed and broken ground on a lot of the different portions of the Anderson Dam, and that the community would be able to look and say, yes, we're keeping those promises. Yes, we'll be doing a lot more in the environment because of the fact that we would have a long-term and continuing source of funds for watersheds protection. That's something that's important to me. I'm a big, folks that know me, I've worked a lot in civil rights. I'm a big environmental justice proponent, and so I'll continue to push on that. Yes, we will have a stabilized board, and yes, we'll be looking at John Varela, and he will be the senior member of the board of directors and our leader for this valley, so all will be well. But that's where I see us. I see us as a very well-ran, very well-stabilized agency, very efficient, and hopefully we have the support of the community and the voters. Thank you for that question.
All right. We have a raised hand via a phone, I think. So I'm going to enable your phone. This is the number ending in 8150. Go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, and good evening, CEO and Director. This is Doug Muirhead, Morgan Hill resident. I did not receive notice of this meeting from the agency, but fortunately our water ambassador has her own list and rebroadcasts that. So you might want to look at your distribution lists. I was quite surprised that I'm not well enough known to be invited to this personally. That's a joke. My question for the CEO is, you've talked about homelessness and having partners doing social services rather than spending more and more money on just removing encampments. I'd like to know if you have a similar approach to working with the cities so that their land use decisions are not forcing the water district to spend money on remediating flood vulnerabilities. I really would like to see much more on the city side and much less forcing the agency to have to spend money on flood control. Thank you very much for this meeting. It's been educational.
Yeah, Mr. Muirhead, thank you. And I apologize if you did not receive information. We do miss seeing you in the audience. You're definitely someone that is well known to Valley Water, and we appreciate your constant insight and participation in things. And I believe we may have sent this out in our email newsletter, but I'll make sure that we have it included in our email newsletter, which probably is going to be going out tomorrow. But we have publicized this not only through online mechanisms, Facebook, etc. We sent it out to the Nextdoor messages. So if you're not on Nextdoor, if you're not on any social media, you may have missed that. And for that, I apologize. But it was primarily through the social media outlets and through our website. And I do want to thank Ms. Edwards and others for making sure that this was publicized so folks could attend. Going to the last portion of your question, where you asked about in terms of the ensuring that we are not we're participating in land use decisions. Well, Mr. Muirhead, I do want to promise you that we do, on the auxiliary, participate in land use decisions. We do make comments on all EIRs on things that are going to have impact on the watersheds and the creeks. So that is how we participate. The Valley Water does not have any land use authority. We have not sought that from the legislature. The cities are the land use authority individuals. We do know that the Valley Water directors have had this policy discussion. I think we'll continue to have this policy discussion, but this is one of the things that is going to be big, I think, with me, and what you'll hear moving forward is us working with the cities, us working with the county, us working with the residents is more of a partnership. And so I think as long as we continue to have the same kind of partnerships, the same kind of joint meetings, the same kind of city council or the mayor, what we call mayor city manager meetings, hopefully we'll be able to engage in those kind of partnership discussions so that we can come up with solutions that are beneficial for all of the residents of Santa Clara County, including those of South County.
All right, thank you. We have a similar question. This is from Andrea Ventura. If you can chat us which district you're in, that'd be great. So they ask, I live in a different district and haven't heard these talks. Thank you, Swanee, for the heads up. Swanee, you're a gem. Even though I get your newsletter, how do I know about one in my district? And so I can help answer some of that. If Andrea, if you can ask or mention what district you're in, I can probably mention which ones are upcoming. I know we have District 4 coming up on Friday on October 2nd with Director Lazat. And then we also have on next Tuesday, the 6th with Director Kremen, the 7th with Vice Chair Estromera, and on the 14th with Director Keegan. Do you want to add anything, Rick? Or?
Yeah, Ms. Ventura, I just encourage you to go to our website, valleywater.org. If you go to our website, you'll see that they're posted and you'll see what areas that they'll be in. And again, I encourage you, we do send out a lot of messaging directly from our directors by Nextdoor. This did go out on Nextdoor. So hopefully if you're a Nextdoor, there are about 464,000 households that we do communicate through Nextdoor. And so we do have messages that go out for our directors, and hopefully you have the opportunity to see those. But that is one of the primary ways that we hope to be able to get into people's homes. And so I apologize again that you didn't get the message. We will try to do better to get the information out. But like I said, we have tried to publicize it and put the information out. But I am happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're able to answer the question. But before we go, I wanted to just ask Director Varela one quick, because we're running short on time, and I do want to make sure that we honor people's time. But I did promise Director Varela that I was going to ask him at least one question. So Director Varela, what is your favorite project that has happened in your district since you've been on the board?
Well, without question, there's so many. They're all extremely important. But the one that you have spoken about, Councilmember Larry Carr has spoken about, is the project that had been on the books for nearly 65 years. And that's the Upper Yagas Creek Flood Protection Project. You drive through the southern part of Morgan Hill, Monterey Road, and you could see the evolution of the project that has started last fall, almost a year ago now, and moved through the summer months. The comments that I'm receiving from the people that have lived right in that particular area where Lake Silvera is now being transformed with walking trails, with people with pathways, and the overall immensity of the project itself, and the fact that it's going to be providing flood protection in Morgan Hill. There are several phases of the project. This is phase one that we're currently involved with, and that should be wrapping up. From what I understand, we're way ahead of schedule on that project. And that should be wrapping up, if I'm not mistaken, by the first quarter of the year. So that, in a nutshell, would be probably the most exciting, because it's a visual. You can actually see it. You could feel it. You could even smell it because the dirt that's being brought up. So to answer your question, it's the Upper Yagas Creek Flood Protection Project.
And just like I shared, people might think I'm joking, but it's true. He says, Rick, you got to come and see. This is absolutely wonderful. This just happened last week in the conversation. So I definitely believe you. Well, I want to thank, I want to thank everybody. Before Director Varela, I'm going to turn it over to you for any final closing. But I do want to say we got through as many questions as we could tonight within the hour. If you have any other questions or follow-up, please send me an email to ceo@valleywater.org. Feel free to join us at our future CEO Ask the CEO meetings. Again, go to valleywater.org so you can understand when they're going to be happening. Thank you for joining tonight. Thank you for the council members for the kind words and for talking. Thank you, Director Varela, for introducing me in your district. And Director Varela, I'm going to turn it over to you for closing.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the opportunity. And believe me, this was very informative. And I think the people that were on the call, were listening and were paying attention, had some amazing questions, which tells me that there are some very concerned people that live within our region and are interested to learn how the projects that we are engaged in are going to impact and affect their lives. But there's one clear message I want to leave with everybody: what Valley Water is all about. Valley Water is about public safety. Bar none. Flood protection, safe, clean drinking water. That is what we talk about. That is what our mission statement is. And for me, I live in South County. I live in Morgan Hill. I've been here 42 years. And this Anderson Dam project, I'm concerned about that for my family, as I am for you, my neighbors, people that live in South County, in the effect that that dam were to fail. So people are constantly asking questions: why are you doing this now? And why is it taking so long? And those are very difficult questions to give you answers that you're going to be satisfied with. The reality is, when that dam was first built in the 1950s, there were no government agencies, no regulatory permitting required, and the dam was literally built within a year. Now, we have over 11 regulatory and permitting agencies that we must go through before we can implement our work. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you how it is. We are all wanting to complete these projects as quickly as possible. And with leadership like Rick at the helm, and a strong board of directors, and a great team of experts and scientists at the Water District, rest assured, sleep well tonight. And thank you for attending this meeting. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.